Yeah, I think we can keep on chugging here, and as we head into picks and bans, like you said, Fantastique have to change something. You sounded like you had something on the mind there, Tolly.
It's not about the picks and bans, it's about how they utilized it. The Sobek and the Ram, they didn't do a great job in terms of shutting down Suntouch as well as they could have on the Jingwei, which is what allowed Dignitas to find that solo Fire Giant play. So I'm looking at more of their play style.
You know, it's interesting. When players go head-to-head against the Freya or the Chronos out of Suntouch, it's so heavily contested. You see him almost camped because everybody is well aware of the fact that he's going to be so devastating. But when it comes down to it, you know, he switches over to the Hunter almost as if he needs to stop. But I don't really think Suntouch even needs the break. He can go ahead and just push and own the lane like he did there before.
Yeah,
Jermain got the best of him once, but that wasn't it.
No, Suntouch definitely didn't need a break at the late game. Once he got to that form, he was able to really carry the game on his own, and he was able to basically open the door for Dignitas. Despite getting soloed at the left-hand side, the Fantastique weren't able to really exploit that as well as they could have.
Exactly. So when it comes down to it, maybe even outside of the Magical Hunters, Suntouch needs to be paid attention to by these teams, because Fantastique certainly, like we said, Jermain sort of got the best of him once, but not towards the end of the game. And Suntouch on that Jingwei wound up really just being 1 and 2 on the damage and really running the game for Team Dignitas.
Fantastic. They were worried about the Raijin now this time around. ShadowNightmare playing it was just so efficient, especially with the setup from FrostiaK. It wasn't that great in the early game, but it really shined towards the end.
Exactly. So the Raijin banned out by Fantastique. I think that's a decent idea. ShadowNightmare's Raijin certainly a good choice, but at the end of the day, ShadowNightmare in general is kind of a scary player as well. So got to be careful of the captain for Dig. Fantastique now waiting on Team Dignitas' ban. They got an extra second, and we'll see where it lands. Raijin, the first one to come out, so the mid-mage taken out. Team Dignitas now opting.
This is a good spot for Fantastique because Dignitas have to ban either Fafnir, Nemesis, or Kuang, so Fantastique should be able to get one of those three.
So we'll think about where they wind up. Freya also banned out again. I still think the commitment to the Freya ban against Suntouch, the way to go. Just a little bit too strong of a combination there. In my eyes, a Suntouch on the Valkyrie. Just an instant lights out combination. Whether you put him in the jungle, the mid, I mean, we've seen mid Freya and Suntouch once upon a time. It's just every once in a while, a player just gets a god. And Freya is certainly one of Suntouch's.
No, not absolutely. You have to respect the late game carry form from the Freya. Fantastique. They didn't exploit the dual lane the last time around. Maybe it's going to be something that they do this time around. With the Fafnir ban, I'm expecting Fantastique to go into this Kuang for WorldEdit.
We'll see if it works out. WorldEdit has been doing well. Even with the Susanoo last game, you know, without the win, still looked very strong. We'll see if it will be the Kuang or something else. Fantastique have the first option here with their first pick. Last time, we saw them go the Susanoo. We'll see if they'll follow that up one more time, because they didn't ban out Kuang. So will it be the AO?
It could be.
It could be.
It could be.
Well, they've got 10 more seconds to really think it over. Fantastique really taking their time with this one.
Yeah, it's something that you really want to take your time about waiting, because you don't want to mess up when you select a god, because sometimes you could accidentally misclick it, and then everybody's like, all right, man, what did you do this time?
I didn't want a Muse and Cobb, I wanted AO Kuang, how dare you? We actually saw that at LAN one time. Funball, I think, accidentally locked in AMC. Was it Funball or Reels? I forget, but we did see an accidental pick once upon a time. Kuang, certainly not accidental, definitely going to be a very intentional pick here for Fantastique. So yes, putting the true assassin in the hands of WorldEdit at this time.
So immediately to respond to this assassin is picking up Anhur immediately for Suntouch. This is a different style for him now, because he's going to want to play aggressive. There's no more farming for him this game. This is going to be him wanting to get his own solo kill.
Before we dive too deep, ShadowNightmare also a player of Anhur, just to bring that one up.
That's true.
So it could make its way into the mid lane. So Bacchus almost certainly going to be the support, but Anhur, will it be the hunter role or the mid lane? We have yet to really decide.
Well, Anhur Bacchus is very scary, especially against a Guardian that doesn't have an escape, or a Guardian that doesn't have crowd control immunity, because the burp and the belly flop can set up the full Desert Fury from Anhur.
Absolutely. So Dignitas have a number of options at the table. Fantastique going to bring Erlang Shen over there into the solo lane. So it's one of the first times we'll get to see MoGoW on this character that a lot of the solo laners have really started to enjoy.
Has a lot of sustain with Death's Toll, having that buff from 5 to 6 health. And on top of this, with the dog, you have that second attack. And during your 4th hit on your auto attack progressive chain, you're going to be able to find the splash. So if you hit all 6 minions times 2, it's just as effective as Osiris.
Love the classic combination of Neith without Kuang, having the World Weaver target down somebody that Kuang's giving chase to. Certainly a great option, obviously going to bring them closer to that 30% kill threshold that Kuang needs to execute, and of course stop them in their tracks to allow the Dragon King to really catch up. Fenrir, on the other hand, can certainly brutalize, no pun intended, Neith completely. Just stun, follow up with the dash. Neith is really just a sitting duck when it comes to the dog.
It seems that the Neith is always the yin to Kuang's yang, that you have to synergize those two together, whether it's going to be mid or in the Hunter. And I like this ban from Dignitas, taking away the Ares, preventing Fenrir from getting crippled during the brutalize.
Right, and it's funny because Ares, you just mentioned how Team Dignitas are going to be looking for that support for the Guardian without the crowd control immunity, and Ares fits that bill. But like you said, we've seen Fenrir this week shut down incredibly by good Ares play, so gotta watch out for that one.
Fantastic with the next ban. They're going to want to take away potentially some mid options with this Fenrir, some aggressive plays. Maybe a Zeus would be a good option because of Fenrir and Bacchus going in. Zeus has a lot of potential to get confirmed damage immediately after.
I think Kronos is the perfect ban coming here from Fantastique, and they'll take care of the Zeus as well. Just the great choices to take off the table for Team Dignitas, and you can see the 2 aggressive support options for Fantastique also stripped away Sobek and Ares. So Dardez, stop that. That's what Team Dignitas is saying. Dardez, just stop that, Dardez. Dardez and Jermain, honestly, have been a really big focal point for Fantastique so far.
Absolutely. The way they've been playing together for so long, coming from, what was it, Myrmidons in the past before, have more than a year competitive experience together, now in a newer team, but still have the same dual lane synergy from before. It's going to be the Ymir, which does have the ultimate for the crowd control immunity, but if he gets caught out by this dual lane, I would still expect it to be Anhur in the dual lane, then Dardez can be in a lot of trouble. Team
Dignitas keeping everybody guessing. Not really committing to a Hunter or a mid lane just yet. One more time, we'll see Jermain play the Ram. And before the people come out and say, oh, wow, well, maybe his God pool is pretty small. If you're going to keep giving him Ram, he's going to keep killing it. There's no reason to really change up what hasn't been broken. And ShadowNightmare going to break out the Nox. This is the first time this split that we've seen it, but ShadowNightmare has been one of the few players to actually bring Nox to the SPL. A very interesting character to be played in the mid lane, and certainly a rare sight to see.
This is a kill Dardez composition from Dignitas. They want to shut him down as quickly as possible, not make him tanky. It's very easy to find a lot of crowd control with Nox, Bacchus, and Fenrir, so I love the composition from Dignitas.
Yeah, Dignitas making preparations, and like I said, Dardez, stop that. Just stop that. He's been so active, next to Jermain, but he's been so active in these games. Even the bright sides that Fantastique had in their loss just before came off of a lot of Dardez aggression, whether it was a pluck or an interrupt thanks to a tail whip. Obviously, the ultimate helping out nulisa find a lot of that damage. And important to note, nulisa will be playing Neith this time in the mid lane. The first time we'll see the rookie mid laner play the Hunter instead of the traditional mage.
Which is what you want to do when you're paired up with the Kuang. It's something that I expect Fantastique to have been practicing together for quite a while. These two have been playing ranked for a while, before even they were on the same team together. So I'm not surprised by this Neith for mid, despite playing a lot of Isises or Vulcans for nulisa.
Exactly. I mean, these players obviously practice and play outside of the SPL. Just our first time on the big stage. We get to see nulisa pick up the Neith instead of some of the more tried and true, the Vulcan that we've seen so many times. And speaking of something new, ShadowNightmare bringing out this Nox. This character a little bit hard to set up as far as the damage is concerned, but when the damage does find a home, Toli, Nox can be a devastating selection.
The silence into the root, it's trying to, I'm thinking of all the immobile characters coming out of Fantastique. Ymir's the obvious one. If the escapes are down for WorldEdit and nulisa, that could be another easy option to go on.
Yeah, nulisa has to watch that backflip very careful, very easily punishable. Is that Neith escape? And I'll use that term loosely in this matchup because there's so many options that Dignitas have to really deter that. nulisa gets rooted outside of the damage, and that's really the key right there. Still, mid-Harpies go the way of Dignitas.
They still forced a lot of poke onto nulisa. Just that one contest by ShadowNightmare, and they're gonna find level 3. nulisa was able to grab at least one of those left side mid heartbeats. FrostiaK now making the rotation after securing those Fire Giant Elementals. Meanwhile, in the duo lane, Fantastique, this is what they needed to be doing the first game the whole time around, just pushing Dignitas under their tier 1 tower. And
that's something that the Ymir certainly helps with. When you see Bacchus on her, you don't normally think about being stuck underneath the tower, but Ymir are very threatening, especially in this early game, I should say. So Fantastique able to really push out that lane. Right side, however, we'll visit our solo lane, and MoGoW doing pretty well against Ducky on the Ravana, pretty much as expected. Both players dipping low, healing back up, dipping low, healing back up. Standard for an Erlang Shen versus Ravana matchup.
These are your two high-tier bully gods now in the SPL, the Ravana and the Erlang Shen. MoGoW has a slight advantage because of his dog, but it seems like the blue buffs were not taken by either team. Both of them went for speed instead. MoGoW gets spotted out by FrostiaK, but WorldEdit's here to call it out.
Yeah, you see a couple of players, more importantly, Fenrir or FrostiaK. That Wrath about to come up off of cooldown doesn't even need it to secure the blue buff away from Fantastique. So stutter starts coming out from both teams, and Dignitas make it work, and are able to strip away the blue buff from Fantastique.
It seems Dignitas invaded the speed buff from Fantastique, taking that away and then grabbing their own speed buff in return, now invading the blue buff. So this is a great start for Dignitas, not finding a kill, but this will give the advantage for Ducky, because now MoGoW, he can't spam abilities the way he really wants to with that pin.
Just completely distracted by the quick way that players made it to their mid lane, and Dignitas able to sneak a couple of plays away from, well, both their opposition and the audience there, folks. Our bad.
Yeah, FrostiaK now level 5. He could make a play potentially, but not having the purification now, if he gets low enough, that's going to be a free execute for WorldEdit, unless he could time the Ragnarok.
Exactly, and got to be looking for that timing specifically. Certainly going to be in the game plan. Waiting for this level 5 spike. Dignitas have it, and normally we'll see the jump in immediately, especially from a crazy daring lane like the Anhur Bacchus, but instead waiting around the corner.
They're trying to make sure that they secure their own red buff. A nice pluck onto Dardez. He's very immobile. The Desert Fury coming out doing a lot of damage, but the red buff gets taken at the same time. That was the whole plan of Dignitas. They didn't care about this kill, but now they're going to certainly go for it.
And there's the damage onto Dardez. BigManTingz finishes up what the Nox and the FrostiaK started. Jermain's going to go ahead, hit 2 of 3. And Suntouch and the team will walk away, collecting first blood onto the support very cleanly, as well as taking the red buff for themselves.
Dignitas so methodical about their decisions. They saw the rest of Fantastique go to their own speed buff. They recognize, okay, you're going to your speed, we're going to take your red and zone you, your duo, from coming to defend it. Finding the kill onto Dardez is just a cherry on the top for the small objectives that Dignitas really had in mind.
Yeah, so they got the smaller ones, like you said, but now you got to start thinking towards the next step, right? Looking towards the Gold Fury, and really for me, that's all about the vision. Dignitas have some intense vision here in the enemy jungle, but nothing really around the Gold Fury just yet, as it's very early in the game. And that vision, specifically where it's located, is what's allowed Dignitas to be so active in Fantastique's jungle. Like we said, we just highlighted the red seal, and then early game started off with an invade of their own, forcing everything to go out of whack and be disjointed here in Fantastique's jungle. And because of it, with just a single kill, Toli, Dignitas have been able to find themselves up 1,000 gold. That's 500 for the first blood, and then another 500 just off of the jungle invades alone.
And they're going to be able to grab their own speed buff. It's going to extend their lead slightly. The blue buff from Fantastique's respawning, and knowing the way Dignitas have been playing, they're probably going to be looking for it because the Wrath is available for FrostiaK. The issue is he's only level 6. He might hit level 7 as he does in the mid lane. So now, with this rotation from Dardez, they have to recognize this aggressive play from Dignitas and look for a way to stop it, or at least find something in return on the opposite side.
Well, FrostiaK has his jump on cooldown for a number of seconds now, so just going to hang out here in the jungle, waiting to maybe catch Fantastique on the rotation.
The issue is Dardez is here, whereas BigManTingz is still in the mid lane, not wanting to commit 3 on 4. Blue buff going to get started and taken. MoGoW walking away with that cleanly.
Again, this one finally goes the way of Fantastique, able to pick up their blue buff.
So off of this play now, this could be an option for Dignitas where they could put pressure on the soul lane again for the next 3-minute respawns, and then go for the Gold Fury with this Wrath onto FrostiaK. And now they're going to look for a play in the mid lane.
BigManTingz trying to get the players off of the tower. Very important that, well, FrostiaK and BMT don't show themselves too soon. But FrostiaK just goes the aggressive route, and that'll bring BigManTingz along with him. So no surprise gank coming out from Dignitas. It'll just be the 3-on-3 fight in the mid.
Both soul laners exchanging poke quite heavily. Ducky on the better end of it. He doesn't have blue buff, so he has to be careful about exchanging his mana rather. MoGoW can easily contest the blue buff from Ducky if he chooses to follow him in the jungle.
Suntouch trying to find a good angle onto the Ram. Can't. And instead, Jermain just going to stand there waving at Suntouch, daring him to play aggressive. Kuang a little bit local, but not necessarily on the rotation. However, Dignitas now looking for the hurt onto the mid lane. nulisa backflips after taking a big chunk, and that's the damage that Nox is capable of. One combination brings nulisa down below half HP.
And they stole the speed buff again. Now BigManTingz picking it up. They're looking for another aggressive play around the red buff. They might find a play onto Dardez in mid. If he oversteps, that would be a nice play, finding the knock up into the Nox silence root combination. There's really nowhere for him to go, and this would be a good timing because he's only level 7 with reinforced greaves.
And with just the reinforced greaves, he'll be a little bit tanky, but not enough to really claim much. And you know, those reinforced greaves, it's less about the tank situation right there, the extra protections or health. It's about the crowd control reduction that Dardez is really looking for with that item.
That's true, but BigManTingz can set up a lot, especially with that belly flop knockup, finding a double stun, followed up by FrostiaK. The purification was forced from Jermain. World Weaver, nowhere for FrostiaK to really go, but the nice cover from the rest of his team.
Just not enough damage out of Dignitas. They had a fantastic setup, like you said. Double stun into another double stun out of FrostiaK, but no real follow-up, so nothing really to be told there. BigManTingz going to be watching, looking for a knock-up onto these two players from Fantastique, try to make their way back into lane, and they'll split up and head safely home.
BigManTingz still has this Intoxicate. Jermain's purification is down. One belly flop can definitely spill his doom. Suntouch, his ultimate's available, so one belly flop, Desert Fury Intoxicate can easily pick off Jermain.
And here is the belly flop on the right side. MoGoW taking on Ducky, and there's Suntouch taking out the target. Jermain falls down one more time. nulisa sees what's going on, has to play very safe here in the mid lane, sitting behind her own tower.
This is what you have to do in the dual lane against a hyper late game carry such as Rama. Not allow Rama to get to the carry potential. Now Ducky on the right hand side, 2 levels ahead of MoGoW, finding some nice poke exchange. Not much mana on the side of MoGoW. This could be a dive.
And that's what's going to happen. The ultimate on top of the solo laner. No mana available whatsoever, totally. And MoGoW does find a little bit of a heal, and that'll be enough to put Ducky right back into lane. MoGoW survives, backs, and then we'll come right back with the teleport.
Nice little dive attempt, just barely not in time to get the kill before the sustain comes from the Erlang Shen. MoGoW doing a good job holding his own. Now teleporting back, going to secure his own blue buff. Both teams being a little quiet now off of the kill from Jermain. It seems that the Wrath is available, and Goldfury going to get started by Dignitas.
Exactly. Fantastique don't really have much to really contest this. Dardez can with the ultimate, but then obviously he becomes a sitting duck, so down goes the Gold Fury. Thanks to the Wrath, no steal that time. Dignitas able to take that one to the cleaners, and early on in this game, 3,500 quickly becomes the lead with a Team Dignitas nameplate all over it.
Different pace of game this time around. Dignitas controlling it completely. Great synergy, calling out cooldowns and like when to burst down the Gold Fury, because there's a certain threshold for Wrath to confirm it, but you have to get it into that threshold. So you want to burst it at around 2,500 gold with all your abilities to set up that Wrath execute.
And it allows the last execute phase to just fall down so much quickly. Ultimate down nulisa to stop one in their tracks. A good wall from Dardez, but ShadowNightmare wasn't in trouble. And here's the follow-up. nulisa does find the kill. And then 3 players on and 2 in the mid lane get hit by Intoxicate. And the Spirit Hour going to be off the mark because of it. Well done by BigManTingz, but Dignitas wants some more. On the counter retreat, there's the ultimate and the sprint. And everybody diving. nulisa takes a spill, still bringing the damage. Executing the dog. WorldEdit goes to the sky. It's 2-3, and Fantastique on the offense. Now, where will WorldEdit land? He'll land all the way on the right side of the map.
He doesn't have any mana to really want to contest the rest of that team fight in middle. That's the one issue that FrostiaK has by going the Wrath. He doesn't have purification to get away from the execute. Ragnarok was down on top of this. So a nice, easy, clean kill. 2 for 1 overall for Team Dignitas.
And right now, that'll do good wonders. It's one of those days, folks. I apologize. It'll do wonders for Team Dignitas. Sitting up 3,000 again very early on. Last couple of games we've seen, not just today, but yesterday as well, these slow and steady 1K 500, 1K 500, tower here, tower there. Dignitas starting this one off with a 3,000 gold lead. Certainly a different story.
And in the right hand, this tower is very low for Dignitas. MoGoW overextended slightly. We have a rotation from FrostiaK looking for the aggression. Ducky forced to back. His teleport is available, though.
Will he use it?
I mean, he wants to hold on to his tower speed, and Blue are respawning. He has to really use it here because Goldfury is still respawning in about 2.5 minutes. It's a nice timing to really just go ahead and throw that out.
Different story for Fantastique, however. MoGoW's will be up in about 15 seconds. So creating that teleport difference is relatively important, and Dignitas will have to keep track of it. More importantly, Fantastique will, as they'll have the upper hand here. FrostiaK shows his face, and so does WorldEdit, and that'll keep the dog out of the short lane for now. And WorldEdit shades back over towards the mid side, grouping up with the core of the team. Silence out of Dardez, able to find his way out. And Jermain just fighting in the sands.
Suntouch going to be aggressive, forcing out the roll, trying to get the advantage. The melee minions are cleared from Jermain, so this is why Suntouch is playing aggressive. Also now with a 2-level advantage, they see where all the members are from Fantastique in the mid lane and the jungle side. The blue buff going to get invaded on us. We're going to have a fight.
And there's the ultimate out of FrostiaK, bringing the target right to ShadowNightmare, who finds his first kill of the game with a giant ultimate. And that's going to help out the mid laner. 1-1-1. Nulisa in some MoGoW in some trouble. Jumped over and jumped down. BigManTingz takes out MoGoW. Dardez drops the ultimate, but it's not enough to deter Team Dignitas from going as hard as they just did. 4,000 gold in the lead as Dignitas keeps inching forward. And as the minions do just that in the solo lane, they'll look towards a tier 1. But Nulisa making the rotation, looking for the gank onto Suntouch. Not very accurate right here, Tolly. And jumping over the wall is going to be Suntouch and gets right away from the 200s on Fantastique.
Overall, that was a 2-for-0 in favor of Dignitas on the right-hand side. They forced the blue buff down. MoGoW wasn't able to pick it up, and he had no mana in the rest of the team fight. It was an easy, clean pick-off. They also killed WorldEdit before the purification. Just too much burst on the side of Dignitas, securing that tier 1 tower now, extending their goal lead to 5,000. They're not done yet. They're going to force a teleport just to defend this tier 1 mid.
And a good wall going to stop Ducky for the moment. Frozen, but outside the radius of the tower, so no help from the structure right there. WorldEdit waiting in the wings in case Dignitas get a little bit over-aggressive. Then we might see the cheeky execute, but not willing to show his face until then.
This teleport was mistimed now because the Goldfury is respawning in 35 seconds. If they see that MoGoW is in the right-hand side, that's a free gold for Dignitas. They know that they're going to have a 1-player advantage if Ducky makes the rotation.
Right, we were talking about that on the other side before when Ducky teleported to lane and Fantastique was 18 seconds away from having their own teleport solo laner. Well, now, quite the opposite story. 140 seconds for MoGoW, whereas in just about half a minute, Ducky will have that availability. And hey, look, the Goldfury just spawned. So as far as timing is concerned, everything in the way of Team Dignitas, should they decide to go for the Goldfury play at all, that is. Dardez has an idea about it, and we'll go ahead and drop the counter ward. Yeah, and Suntouch will do the same thing.
Dignitas, they won a team fight here. Look at Dignitas, look at Ducky's item build. He went hide in the mean line in the Witchblade, trying to counter this double hunter play from Fantastique. You want to be able to dive the backline and not worry about getting outpoked this heavily. If you survive against the hunters, then there's no way you're going to get executed by WorldEdit.
Yeah, another item that's changed recently. We'll talk about it after this Goldfury dance. Witchblade's certainly a little bit more popular as of late. Goldfury, well, it's been popular since the inception of Smite. Fantastique going to start dancing around it. Dignitas drop a pillar, but not really willing to commit just yet. Want to see how committed Fantastique really is to the objective.
This is a great play from Dignitas. They don't care about this gold because they're going for the right tower, tier 2. The teleport is still available. MoGoW made the rotation. A nice little freeze, though.
And the jump over is going to knock MoGoW right into the sky. And Fantastique start the fight off well. Teleport not coming out from the Ravana just yet, but it is available. He'll likely show up in this fight. The ultimate's all used by Fantastique, minus the assassination. And BigManTingz and FrostiaK still have theirs available. Ducky shows up, 5-on-5. Dignitas get aggressive, jumping on top. There's Suntouch's ultimate as well. Ducky puts down WorldEdit after the Anhur comes through. Damage on Jermain, rolling out of the damage out of ShadowNightmare, and Dardez walls off the world. ShadowNightmare caught out by nulisa. Trouble for everybody else. FrostiaK finds nulisa on the backside, and down goes Jermain. Dardez with a fantastic showing, but it's just not enough to save the team. Dignitas come back around, wrap it up, and take down Fantastique.
Great game plan from Dignitas, forcing the hand of Fantastique to force the team fight 5-on-4. The rotation from Ducky wrapping up, force out so many relics, diving the backline. nulisa was forced to use the Sanctuary, training only ShadowNightmare for 3 members from Fantastique and getting the gold.
Dardez had a great support play right there. Walls off 3, taking out Jermain out of harm's way, tries to body block nulisa out of harm's way, finds another freeze, saves all of his teammates once, twice, but can't find help for everybody else, and eventually Dignitas just bring too many things too hard, and really it just came off of Fantastique made the first play, and they used everything they had. And after that, with the counter initiation after Ducky came over, there was just too many ultimates on the side of Dig for really anybody, especially Fantastique, to really deal with.
Not only that, the experience gap between these two teams is starting to show off between Dignitas and Fantastique. That team fight, that everyone was at least 2 levels behind their opposition, which is what allowed Dignitas to find the re-engage.
Exactly, just the pure numbers on the side of Team Dignitas, allowing them to be a little bit more aggressive. Will be nice. And say aggressive. Dignitas now gonna look for Jermain. One more time, red buff going the way of Dig. So many invades.
It's all about these small little objectives. They find the tier 1 mid. They're going to try to force out the ultimate from Ducky, but they can't really continue a team fight after this. So it's going to delay Dignitas from wanting to get these towers, but they're very content. They already got tier 1 mid after the gold. They stole away the red. Actually, it did get picked up by nulisa, but they tried to steal the red.
Exactly, and that's really what Dignitas have been trying to do all game. A lot of map control coming out from these guys on Dignitas. Repeated invades from the beginning of the game. We saw the speed buff taken away a number of times. Fantastique lucky to really claim a buff their own.
With the early invades from FrostiaK, he wasn't punished hard enough in the early game before getting the purification, only getting executed that one time. Dignitas was all over the place. Speed buff here, blue buff invade there, red buff invade here and there, and that's why Dignitas have such a comfortable lead now, almost 9,000 gold.
Yeah, I mean, it's not that they've been slaying it, just team fight after team fight or gold furies. There's been 2 gold furies, which is, I'd say, probably about average for 18 minutes. We see a lot of early game gold furies these days, and then teams make a lull till about 13. Now Dignitas looking for a little bit more aggression. Dardez joins his longtime teammate. Keep an eye on the jungle, though. WorldEdit hanging out on the right-hand side. ShadowNightmare not going to find much. There's the blink forward, as well as nulisa's ultimate, but ShadowNightmare going to immune it all. And now the rotation out of the solo lane. Knocked up. Ducky shows up as well. WorldEdit going to go the other direction. Smooth moves, Kuang.
But he's walking back into FrostiaK without his teleport, so that's going to be a free kill. A nice Ragnarok to prevent the knockup. Nowhere for WorldEdit to go. With that, 5 members in the left-hand side. Dignitas gonna get this tier 1 for free.
Just out of the frying pan into the fire. WorldEdit makes a fancy play right into the clutches of FrostiaK. Unable to do much there. Dignitas now 5 players deep. Don't need no fire giant. They're just going to see just one the old-fashioned way. Great stuff on the Jermain. Suntouch following up his mid laner, and the damage coming out and following suit. Over the top comes FrostiaK. Sanctuary activated, but one more shot will do it. Can't find it, but the player already gone. Tier 2 tower, the actual target, and everybody on Dignitas knows it. Taking it down, 1,500 in the pocket.
That was a great obelisk from Suntouch, preventing the roll from Jermain. Unfortunately, not able to find the kill, but did force Purification and Sanctuary. Gold Fury is respawning about 1.5 minutes, and that's a good timing to force another exchange of a team fight.
Suntouch routinely making these plays for his team, and you know, early in the season, like I said, just because a player plays something over and over again doesn't mean that's only their only choices. Suntouch played the hell out of Freya in week number 1 simply because he's fantastic, and if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But that doesn't mean that Freya is the only option. We've seen top tier Anhur plays today. Absolutely.
Anhur's one of those gods where you can play very aggressively and defensively at the same time with his whole kit. You have nothing really to worry about. You could be left alone for quite a while and just play under the safety of your tier 1 tower. And now, Dignitas, they're going to force out this Fire Giant. Meanwhile, on the left-hand side, Jermain is just going to split push, getting the tier 1 just to get some gold back for his team.
There's no way that anybody can compete with that Fire Giant. So instead, not even going to be the attempt. Left side, a split push. Now down mid lane comes Team Dignitas minus Suntouch, who will finish up on that right side alongside Ducky, taking out the last tower on the right side. This is the last tower on the map, Anatoly, and it's going to go down without a fight.
FrostiaK rotating on the left, forcing Jermain back. This Phoenix could get aggressed on with Jermain not being there. It's going to be a rotation towards gold. They don't want to commit towards the Phoenixes quite yet. They're not at the late game form. They have 56,000 collective gold, but that's not the 70,000 that you need to have a full build.
Right, so still making their way up there. Gold Fury will be started by Team Dignitas, and again, Fantastique don't want to look at that at all. And I want to highlight the Witchblade here. We were talking about it before, and it's really become a more prominent item. And that number right up top, the physical protection, is why. The item has recently been changed. 60 physical protection. That's a big deal, Toli.
That is, especially against the double hunters from Fantastique, like we mentioned before. Having the attack speed for the Ravana, which will allow him to build up his passive, getting more shield to absorb some more enhance, because it's going to keep him alive to prevent him from getting executed from WorldEdit. So overall, just great itemization from Ducky.
Exactly. So the ever-present Witchblade now going to be built on the solo laners. Expect to see that a lot as a number 1 or number 2 item. Freyas that find themselves in the hunter role, we've seen buy it even first before Boots and Fatalis, as strange as that may sound. But now Team Dignitas, they are going to make their push up the mid lane this time, Toli. They're feeling Fantastique.
Yeah, they're feeling very confident with Fire Giant. Nox is on the left. They have to be careful about wanting to commit. They're going to split push just to make sure both of these waves are going to enter at the same time. So they're not going to commit under the Phoenix quite yet, up until left gets all the way down that Phoenix.
And that's where she's coming. Dignitas awaiting their moment. Sitting and occupying themselves. 22.5 on the clock. Dignitas have 3 times the kills. Fantastique have been able to amass here. Shot through the wall, not going to find ShadowNightmare. He's got to be very careful. Usually this role is occupied by an assassin or a tanky solo laner. Instead, it is a paper mage, ShadowNightmare, with no defense to his name, split pushing. Kind of dangerous. And that's why Dignitas make the rotation, and it'll be the whole team here on the left side, joining up with their mid laner. And the surprise shift. Dignitas take out the tier lead Phoenix without Fantastique even aware. FrostiaK going to pay for it. Not dead just yet. Jermain wants to change that. 2 shots on the mark. Can't find the third. And nulisa just firing these basics, pushing Dignitas off the lawn. But damage already done. Quick shift. And the black and yellow take out the left Phoenix.
A nice meditate from BigManTingz, just topping FrostiaK off to prevent Jermain from finding those snipes that he needed to get the kill. And now, with that free Phoenix on the left, Dignitas, they're going to be very content with now just focusing all their forces in the mid. Originally, it was a nice bait plan by having ShadowNightmare in the dual lane. Like you said, it's normally an assassin, but if you overextend to try to kill this paper mage, you're going to get punished.
Now Dignitas going to extend here in the mid lane. I don't know about overextension, though. Fantastique have to be the ones that are worried about that. They're down a slew of gold, and Dignitas just want to play aggressive. Now, finally getting damage onto the Phoenix. Here comes the dash and rotation out of MoGoW, but Suntouch able to put Dardez in his place, jumping up and down, finding the ultimate, and the double kill as he takes out the jungler. MoGoW, now the target for the king of the jungle. Suntouch with the pillar, can't find the impale, but still following up. Damage onto the Phoenix, now the target. Suntouch and Shadow on the backside, while FrostiaK takes one by himself. Jermain and nulisa, the 2 hunters, the 2 defenders, and the 2 members of Fantastique left alive as Suntouch and the rest of the squad look towards the Titan. All the damage coming in here for Suntouch as Dignitas wind up with another kill. 3 for the hunter, and down goes the Titan. It's 2-0. Team Dignitas.
What a clean performance from Dignitas in this second game around. Struggled a little bit in the first time around to close it out, but absolutely did not hesitate to go into the Titan room once they found those 3 kills.
Yeah, I mean, last time around, I think they said, I think they played it maybe almost too carefully, almost ran into some issues because of their heavy trepidation, but this time around, certainly just going directly for it. 2 games, 3 points. Dignitas now tied for first
They have 2 wins, 1 split, and 1 loss, which gives them 7 points overall, tied with the big boys from Energy and Paradigm. And that's really impressive play from Dignitas, considering the last set was against Cyclone GG where they found that split, turning things around.
Very important turnaround here for Team Dignitas, a team that looks very, very strong. I had a lot of high hopes for them, and seeing some of their early games, we're a little bit curious. But again, some of the changes made during the offseason, it's all about coming together, and here in week number 2, certainly making it happen.
And the Gold Furies from Dignitas between game number 1 and game number 2, you know, was stolen away from Jermain the first time around, but the second time was just so much better because of the wrap on FrostiaK. And this is where Ducky made that important rotational play, forcing out so many relics.
Yeah, everything for Fantastique is already used up by this point in time. Team Dignitas obviously had everything left in the bank, coming on together, and Nulisa's able to find one, but this was all about Dignitas just able to take out the team fight and then turn it into the gold.
And I thought that their strategy from Dignitas going into this game was going to be focus Dardez off the bat. Immobile Ymir, you know, they had the Nox, the Bacchus, and the Fenrir, but it didn't matter because of the Wrath invade coming from FrostiaK. We saw the invade in North America from Weekend and how powerful it was, and this could be something that more teams have to start watching out for. This forces out teams to start warding in the soul lane because you have to be prepared for that Wrath invade.
Absolutely, and that's pretty much, I mean, we saw right after the initial invade, we saw the secondary and the tertiary, and then there was a little bit of a reprieve while Fantastique was able to pick up some of their buffs, and then again, the invades one more time pushing forward. So just excellently played by Dignitas, both combat-wise and all across the map, making sure to take care of the various objectives. And it all comes down to the captain and now the hunter. Suntouch sitting on the line. Congratulations on your wins, man. You guys have looked fantastic.
Hey, thanks, man. What's up, guys?
Not too much with your own laughs right towards Jermain. You guys made a couple of changes during the offseason. During the spring split, you guys looked pretty good, but couldn't really reach that top tier. What made you go the direction of Ducky and some of the changes here, and how are your hopes for the fall split?
We were just looking for a bit more consistency in all the roles. We didn't feel like we were really kind of there, and our synergy wasn't there, you know, the out of game synergy, and we've got that now with the Ducky and the Big Man. We're hanging out a lot, having a lot of fun together.
Yeah, I mean, that's really the key. You guys have been, I mean, you're streaming all the time, and we get to see you play with some of your teammates. Do you guys do that outside of game as well, and just sort of hang out? Because that's really what we've been seeing.
Yeah, normally we just kind of hang out, play maybe some Rocket League together. I normally carry them, and you know, and that as well.
Awesome.
Awesome. And going into the second game compared to the first one, you were very passively farming with the Jingwei, which allowed you to get that solo fire shot. But then you switched up completely, going for the aggressive Anhur. Was it like you trying to prove a statement in the second game, or what was that about?
Yeah, well, basically we planned not to pick Freya because, you know, they kind of said that we would pick Freya and we would lose. So I was just like, you know what? I just won't even pick Freya this week. I didn't practice it at all, really, in the scrims or whatever. I just said I'll just play anything else. Didn't really need Freya against them, to be honest. So.
Ouch. You know, actually, that's a narrative that always frustrates me the most, when players are doing something that actually works and the outside mindset seems to think that that's all that can happen. How frustrating is for you as a player when you see fans sort of embrace a storyline that doesn't really exist, or does it just not bother you at all?
I just embrace it, you know, if people think it can only play one god and they're going to ban it in the first bans, we just, you know, we're prepared for that, you know, if they want to ban Freya in the first bans, we're just laughing about it most of the time, all right, we've got the free win now.
Yeah, I mean, you guys were able to certainly, you know, capitalize and pick big important things like Raijin and the Bacchus. So Dignitas seems to be working out very, very successful this year. What are your game plans as you get to come to LAN and then hopefully make it towards Worlds? What's the big picture for Dignitas? Where do you guys land at the end of the split?
Well, I'm looking to increase my god pool from 1 character. Big Man's also only got 2 gods in the god pool, so he's trying to produce 3 or 4. As far as the team goes, we're looking for the top kind of 4 finish, hopefully, so we can get kind of good seeding in the groups. And then, yeah, we'll just go on from there.
Awesome. Cautiously realistic, but if you ask this guy, I think there's a bright future for Team Dignitas up ahead. So before we let you go, man, thanks for joining us. Congratulations. And are there any shout-outs you'd like to give to the people at home?
Shout-outs to our sponsors, and shout-out to the big boy, Ducky. The duck is coming. See you later.
Take it easy, Suntouch. Thanks again for joining us. Suntouch, there he is, Mr. Peter Logan. Fantastic guy on Team Dignitas. Always ahead of everything that he's going to be saying. Love to talk to that guy. Always very polite.
Always. He's British.
I don't know.
I mean, like, yeah, we do have Hindu. As I said that, I'm like, oh, wait.
I hang out with Hindu man, so I don't know if that's the way that goes. But certainly a fun time talking to the captain there of Team Dignitas. We've got a couple of things for you guys at home as well. Don't forget, Bacchus in full display. You can get this skin by playing the game. Load up Smite, and then go right ahead and do what the game tells you to do, and you'll be able to own your own Bacchus with beer and corn dogs and bellies and, most importantly, Crocs.
I just noticed those Crocs.
They're modeled after Zapman's.
I don't think I've ever seen Zapman in Crocs.
Zapman's got like 17 pairs of Crocs. In any event, we've got 3 more games coming at you, and we'll bring them in just a little bit. Stay tuned for the next game. 2 out of 3, 2 out of 4. There's more Smite on the way. Stay tuned.